Judicial Watch noted with some concern that the university where Charlie was murdered quickly went in and repaved the space where he was killed. I mean, it was just like a day or two later. So we asked for records under the Utah Freedom of Information law, and we finally got some. One of the worst days in recent American history was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I still can't believe we lost him. And it not only shook us here at Judicial Watch, because we're friends and partners with Turning Point USA on so many things, and I knew Charlie personally as well, but it shook Americans of all ideological stripes. You know, I can complain about the left inciting violence on Charlie Kirk, but let's be clear, a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans both, they were very upset about the shooting death. Because of the historical significance of the shooting death, Judicial Watch has initiated several Freedom of Information Act requests about what happened that day and the aftermath. And today, or I should say, well, I guess it was today in part, but this week in court in Utah, there were preliminary hearings about Charlie's assassination and murder. And it became clear, based on the evidence presented in court this past week, it's pretty clear the guy they arrested was the guy who did it. He confessed to his friend, lover / roommate that he did it. He expressed some supposed sorrow for it. The text messages confirm his confessions. The bullet markings and messages confirm his involvement, and all sorts of other evidence make it more than clear this is the guy. But I know there are other questions about the death, and because of the historic significance of it, these questions should be answered by government transparency, not government secrecy. And you know, you can believe that Charlie Kirk, well, I shouldn't say you can believe, you can see with your own eyes what happened that day and still want to know additional information about what happened. What did the police know? What was the reaction? How did they react? You know, what leads were followed? Was there anyone else potentially involved in terms of helping him commit the act? You know, those are all fair questions, and I think to the degree we can get answers to them, we should be given them. And to that end, Judicial Watch noted with some concern that the university where Charlie was murdered quickly went in and repaved the space where he was killed. I mean, it was just like a day or two later. So we asked for records under the Utah Freedom of Information law, and we finally got some. And I'll go to the press release here for you to show. So the university released documents to us on the cleanup of Charlie's, the site of his death, the assassination of Charlie. They gave us 64 records from the Utah Valley University through the Utah Government Records Access and Management Act, GRAMA. We had asked for the records detailing the university's efforts to immediately pave over the site where Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk was murdered. So these are the documents we received. They include an amount for the invoice. This is the sort of basic information you got to do when you're doing an investigation. Well, okay, what happened here? Why was it paved over? Was it paved over for legitimate reasons or for reasons that were illegitimate? Well, one thing you do is you look at the document, and here's the document. There's the total cost, $609.52. Maybe I should download it and view it so you can see it more clearly. Let's see what other information that's here. So this is just the invoice. And the product description is as follows: clean up for shooting incident. Okay, so seems like a relatively straightforward charge. So some of the unpleasant material includes the text message exchanges between what looks to be university officials and the contractors who came in and did the work. And because everything's redacted, I'm kind of guessing what the email, who the email writers are, but you can see them yourselves here. There you go. Am I good to see? Now all these names are redacted from us. Am I good to turn sprinklers all back on? Hold up, I'll ask now again. She says, let the water flow, thank you. Cops just called me into the fountain area to get them some water. We're not going to need to cut out any sod. I don't think we can just wash it all down. So they reference the stuff. There is still some stuff to clean up. I think we can get it cleaned up pretty easy. Stuff is in blood. And they said there's still an 8-inch puddle-ish, I guess, of blood. He responds, plugger. And he says, no, 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 you're going to splash it. The solution of pollution is dilution. They said splash it. The FBI was still there, so they were talking about dealing with the FBI and not doing it while they were there. And let's see what else is here. Here's more records. So there's, I don't know what that is a picture of. Pull the full document down so we can look at it together. So it looks like they were cleaning up by laying sod at some of the event site, but they used pavers over the site where Charlie was actually killed. Remember, he was under that tent when he was murdered. Here are the key photos showing the activity. They block the identities of the men working on the site. Pavers are concrete. They decide on concrete. So this is a sort of, straightforward text messaging. Other text messages read, an individual on September 14th writes, UU had, I guess that's the university, had some berries available, but they are bright red. A second individual responds, no thank you. Any other color? The first individual replies, I know, I thought the same thing. Hysterically laughing emoji. So, not exactly the best sort of humor in a situation like that. But it is what it is. I mean, people had questions about the documents, about the site being paved over. About 2 or 3 days after the event, the murder of Charlie took place. And this is the material we got when we asked for the records under the Utah Freedom of Information Act law, or the Freedom of Information law. And so we had asked for records that were pretty specific about any efforts to remove evidence or materials from the site of the assassination of Charlie. And then, of course, any records about the paving operation. So what we asked for under the law was the following: all records related to the destruction and or removal of evidence and or materials from the site of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And then secondly, and we provide details about what specific records we want, all records related to the paving operation that occurred at the site on the UVU campus of Charlie Kirk's assassination, including email and text messages between the university and contractors involved in the operation, estimates, invoices, et cetera, and that's what we got in response. But also in response, an official for the university, or I think it's an official for the university, told us the following. What happened here is that we got a legal document from Utah about their search and what their position was on it, and they gave us the documents and explained what they were giving to us, et cetera. But I thought this was interesting and worth sharing with you. In response to Judicial Watch's records request, as I disclosed, Utah Assistant Attorney General Nicole Ferguson said the following. With respect to the portion of the request seeking records related to the removal of evidence and/or materials from the site of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, UVW, again, Utah Valley University, consulted the departments and personnel reasonably likely to have been involved in that work. Stacy Fowler, an assistant GRAMA, that's the FOIA law, records officer, consulted with the Utah Valley University Police Department regarding this request and was told the police department did not have control of the crime scene or involvement in the removal of evidence or materials from the site of the incident, so they would not have responsive records. Because the police department for UVU, did not participate in any aspect of the evidence removal process, a search of police emails and text messages was not conducted, as it's not reasonably likely that the search would produce responsive records related to the destruction and/or removal of evidence and/or materials from the site of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, I haven't asked our lawyers about this, but I'm going to give you my response to that. That's not an appropriate response. Where, if such records existed, would they likely exist? They'd exist in the police files. What's the big deal about searching them? I mean, I think the analysis is correct that, if they weren't involved, they're unlikely to have files, but then just check to make sure. I mean, for instance, you could have a police file that says, I watched the FBI gather evidence and walk away. That would be responsive to our request. So what happened is they framed the request in a way as to limit the nature of the request and seemingly absolve them from having to search as they should have. So that's where that stands. So these records, I think, are unpleasant, as I said, but they're important. They add to the catalog of information. When you heard the court catalog information in the murder trial associated with Charlie, and you have Judicial Watch cataloging information about a question related to his death. Why did they clean up the site so quickly? Did we get an answer as to why they cleaned up the site so quickly? Not really. But I don't see evidence that there was anything inappropriate yet, but we still haven't gotten all the records. So we'll see. We'll see. I know there have been critics of the way the university handled the whole situation. But what I love about what Judicial Watch does is look, everyone has questions about Charlie Kirk and his death, and I know there's all sorts of controversy online about it. All Judicial Watch can do is say, here's the documents. Here are the documents. I think they answer a lot of the questions. As I pointed out, the police department should look for their records about the questions we asked in terms of document production. But this is what Judicial Watch does best. Come in and say, okay, everyone calm down. Let's figure out what went on here through this FOIA process, this open records process. So we're not relying on leaks. We're not relying on reporters' characterizations of what went on, people's memories. We've got documents, okay? So here are the documents about the university's response after Charlie Kirk was murdered, and and their incredibly quick action to pave over the site. I mean, the answer could be they paved it over because, however terrible it is, there was a lot of blood around. They didn't think they could get it out, so they said, let's just clear it out and just start all over again. I mean, that's kind of the most tragic aspect of this and the most likely answer. But in terms of documents showing the removal of evidence, I think it'd be interesting to know who handled evidence, and the police might have documents in that regard. So maybe we'll pursue it further. So either way, you can look at the materials yourself and draw your own conclusions. Go to judicialwatch.org and follow the links. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.